not allowed him to be. Okay? On his base, ready to fight, is the hugest no-no that exists in the game. Okay? If you want to beat somebody who is your superior in any sense of the word, superior size, superior strength, superior technique, things of that nature, what you cannot allow them to do is to have their base. All the launching pads come off of stability. If you can't get a foundation, again, this is what I've been saying over and over and over again, I don't care what your deadlift records are, I don't care what your bench press records are, if I never give you a stable base, it's all irrelevant. Okay? And those are like, no man, bro, I'm like, okay, let's go. I've got a bench in there that's really wobbly. Let's test it out. Okay? I'll put you on the bench and we'll see how strong you are while that thing's wobbling all over the place. I guarantee you're not even anywhere near what you're capable of. So when we're in, you'll hear Hans say quite often, your grips or no grips. Okay? Meaning, if I reach out to touch Tony, it's on my dime. Okay? If we're in contact, it's because I'm doing something that I want. It's either me grabbing him or don't let him grab you. Because if Tony's grabbing me, that means it's on his dime. That means he's doing what he wants, and I want to make sure that that doesn't exist. Okay? Now, like I said, for myself, my forearms, which are our shields, this is my pushing agent. Okay? My hand is just how I connect to his neck. Okay? But my pushing agent is actually into my elbow. So, generally speaking, if I come in and I make my connection, I give him a little shove. What's his response? Okay, he's going to post, and then where's he going?
Back to you.
He's coming back in. So, it's the old classic. I mean, this is how most judo throws are based. Okay, we come in, I give you a little shove, you respond in, and that's when I disappear, and I get under your hips, and I go for you. So in this case, either we could be coming in here, and the moment I connect to his head, break him down, make him commit his hands to the floor. If his hands are on the ground, they're not on me. That's the simple rule. If they're on the floor, they're not connected to me, and if they're not connected to me, they can't control me. As long as they're dedicated to the floor for him to have to move, it's bonus for me. Okay? So, as we come in, I can either connect, shove when he resists, I break him down, and then I can go into my front head arm. Okay? Personally, myself, I like head arms more than I like just guillotines only. Okay? Overhook and grab the head and lock up. Now, I mean, there's lots of special little grips and everything else. I'm simple. Okay? Choking hand, taco grip, okay, and just get a good latch. What do overhooks do? What's their primary purpose? Okay, it's to crush and collapse. Okay, when I'm holding onto his head, what's its primary job? Choke the living snot out of its own. Okay, don't go into it with the idea that by grabbing onto his head, that my head is part of the control, and that the overhook is anything else. Okay, the grip on the arm is my control. The grip on his head is the attack. Okay, so when I come in, bop, 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 I'm going to snap him down, and I'm going to latch on. So most people, the moment they get snapped down, he's almost always instantly going to start trying to pick that head up. So right through here, I'm going to step in. The side that's controlling his head, as he steps up, I step in. Whip my leg all the way into his. Take him up and over. Through here we can go mounted guillotine. What I find for myself is I need to release and I need to go with my kickstand. The kickstand allows me to put more pressure into his head and neck. And then I'm going to use the front headlock position to actually create my sweep and get into my top position. Okay. I could drop down for a guillotine, but I don't know about you guys, but my success rate with guillotines is not significantly high. And when I watch most of the fights, neither are theirs. Okay, the failure rate of most guillotines is right up there with the failure rate of most arm bars. I was actually looking at some stats the other day. Arm bars are the #1 failed submission. But it's also like top 3 for being hit because it's repetitive.
Repetition, babe.
It's I'm making up words. Repetitivity. Repetitivity. There you go. It's repetitivity. It's ability to be done in a repetition fashion. it makes it very accessible to hit over and over and over, but it fails a lot. It's up there as like one of the top 3 submissions of all time, but it actually has a very high attempt rate versus failure rate. They don't talk about that often, okay? And so generally speaking, I come in and I latch up, he starts to sit up, and when I slide in and I'm gonna go for my guillotine, he's just gonna sit his hips down low, okay? No, don't drive. When I come back, I want you just to sit, ready? Sit. When his hips go low, I'm laying backwards, and he just sits. The shoulders tend to go right off the top of the head, and that is one of the #1 failure rates of almost all guillotines. Lay down, I'm willing to take a little bit of pressure into the bottom of my chin, it's not in my throat, and you literally are just gonna slide right off my head. Now I'm sitting in your guard, and then you're going, oh crap, I was just in a fairly decent position. Okay, so again, I'm in. The moment he sits up, I step in, whip, take him over, kickstand, sink your hips in, look up. So now we're putting 2 pieces in place simultaneously, sweep and sub. Okay? The sweep tends to land more often than not. If the sub fails, doesn't matter, we've advanced position. All right, let's give it a shot. So we're gonna go into similar setup. The biggest part is again, as soon as you get into your scramble, okay, I tended to do this. Christian is way faster than me in most regards. His ability to get into new stuff, things of that nature. Okay? And so what I found is in a lot of instances, what I needed to do was I needed to slow him down. And I used to think that by slowing him down, it was like just dive bombing in and just trying to make this huge connection. The reality is, you'd be amazed at what just a little push can do, or a little pull. Not me trying to connect, just me trying to keep them off balance so they can't make a steady connection. And then while they're unstable, I'm getting up. And so you'd be amazed sometimes at what that can do for you. You know, as they're coming up, rather than dive bombing in, and just trying to grab on, I'm just coming in and giving a quick little shove, putting them back on their hips while you're still moving forward. It's just something to think about. We do it quite a bit in MMA, even as we're striking sometimes. We know the cage is right there, so sometimes just shove. Shove to get them off balance, and while they're off balance, then we move and manipulate and like. So, same thing, as we're coming in, I don't want him to have that opportunity, so I'm gonna drop him down. And again, what grip do you want to use? There's so many different variations. There's no right or wrong. There's simply what is for you. Okay, in the beginning, okay, I can show you a technique, and you're gonna go, man, that technique's garbage right now. It might work later, it might not. In your decision-making process, if I give you an alternator for a Chevy, but you drive a Ford, it's gonna be difficult for you to put it in, okay? So at that moment in time, because of your other decision-making processes, certain parts may not fit today. They might fit later, they might not fit, okay? So there's lots of different ways. Like I said, I'm simple. I just bring my hands together, make a connection. Yes, there's other variations I can go into. You know, like through here, I can bring this one in under the arm. This one comes in. You see my hand feeding up. I can grab almost like an Ezekiel style. I can make reverse grips. I mean, there's all kinds of different stuff. You gotta kind of pick your flavor, okay? I'm blunt force object. I just smash, I grip, and I move on. Okay? I like my decision-making process is more about changing positions rapidly until I get where I want to go, then I shut the game down. Okay? So through here, I snap him down. As soon as we come in, I'm crunching his head, grabbing that far side armpit, okay? And I want to get that arm as far across as possible. Again, if he has no base, how does he get up? Okay? If he's all of a sudden out here, it's going to be hard for him. So, tricep, elbow, connect, yank. Pull that arm as far across as possible. So then, as I'm here, I make my connection, and I'm in. As I pull, my head is going to start to drop. So where do you think Tony's going from here? Okay, he's probably trying to elevate, and he's probably trying to square back up. So as soon as I do this, and I feel that elevation starting to happen, I go under, and I'm grabbing the far side tricep in the process. So right now I'm double triceps, okay? Now through here, it is plausible that I could squeeze him from here, okay? And I might be able to tap him. Odds are pretty low though, because he's not fighting me right now. So as we're rolling, okay, I get up, see I'm still controlling his elbow, then I walk. The closer my hips get, to his hips, the better the choke becomes. This is the definition of nearly all chokes. Okay? When we're talking just straight up guillotines, okay? If we're like this, they're not very good, and the moment our hips start to come together, all that neck strain goes in. Okay? Try choking somebody with a rear naked choke without hooks. Not impossible, but the ability of them moving their hips changes the angle and increases their odds of getting out. But what happens when I make my hips connect? Now the choke becomes something that's very dangerous. Anacondas, okay? Could I choke you with just the grip? Absolutely, okay? But when does it get to its best? When our hips start to connect. Repeat theme. Somebody gets your neck, the real pressure, it's not to say they couldn't choke you earlier, but the real danger and the real pressure is going to come when the hips begin to connect. That's the reality. Okay? Again, could I from certain positions? Absolutely, but I'm going to be working hard. It's not exactly going to be easy. Okay? And it's not going to be super reliable either. When I connect my hips, that's when it becomes its best. So, the one on roll, I'm using it again to change positions. It's a common theme throughout my decision making. Change my position and then get into my attack. Change my position and then run towards his hips, chest down, head up, and the squeeze kind of sets itself. So again, I snap him down. As I reach, tricep, elbow, cut across. Now through here, I'm not just going into a gator roll. When he responds by starting to come up, that's when I go under, and I want that far side arm. Okay? I want this sleeve or elbow. Double elbows, control. As we roll, follow the pressure. I can lift this one up, and I can replace it with my hip. My knee is now pinning his arm in place. And then I can walk towards his hip. When we do that, it gets tighter and tighter and tighter. Okay? And then at that moment in time, if we get chest to chest, it should be over. If it's not, that means your first grip, something was wrong. All right, let's give it a shot. 1, 2, 3. I go into that roll because he lifts his head. I'm one of these individuals, if I start feeling like somebody's snatching onto my head, okay, I know that there's a lot of nastiness that's coming with the alligator roll. So in a lot of instances from there, as soon as he snatches onto my head, I tend to go a little bit down and I'll frame my head up against my own arm to try to prevent some of the positioning and postures. And so if they leave their head down, we play a little different, okay? So in this instance, I snap him down, okay? And I'm coming in to go here. Now, again, one of the defenses is don't flare that elbow to the outside. So now when I'm trying, it can be a little bit more difficult, okay? If he leaves it to the inside, we go, and it's already happening. So when he's here, this can be difficult. So now a gable grip. Now this is a stronger pry bar, okay? So now again, I'm gonna take that, cut his arm out of the way. But now in this instance, he's trying to resist to not get rolled over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my head and literally just put it on the floor. I pulled my arms over, but now I'm setting my squeeze. So now I'm going to turn the corner. And as I turn the corner, his desire to keep his head down is going to choke him. Okay? When his head is low, this is my best side. When my hands lock up and I cut him across and then I put my head down on the floor. Now I'm squeezing, his head is in this pocket somewhere, and then I start to turn that corner. When you turn the corner, that's when the tension really starts to set in. and I don't lift my head up from the ground. I leave it pinned, turn the corner, and again, do I care if I choke you? Okay? I would love to, but it's not what I'm hunting for. What I'm hunting for is for you to lift your head so that I can change the position. Because if you leave it low, okay, or if I'm in my defensive posture and I leave my head low, good luck. You're gonna have a hard time, okay? And so ultimately we talk about the different ways of moving in jiu-jitsu, okay? And there's really only two that are, in my opinion, the best, okay? I could try to move Tony. That's fantastic, but what if Tony's a beast? Okay, well, Tony is a beast. So, yeah, I know. So, unless you are physically superior to that individual, moving them and relying on moving them is really hard to do. Okay? So the other one is I move myself. Okay? Or the last one, which is actually the most jiu-jitsu of all of them, is I make Tony move himself. I threaten him. Whooshy finger holds, things of that nature. Okay? I put a little bit of damage so that Tony goes, whoa. Okay? But I didn't need to do a whole lot of muscle to make him move. I threatened him with a technique, and then Tony decides to remove himself from the threat. Now I got the best of both worlds. I got Tony to move, but I did it by making him move himself. That's how you move big objects. Okay? If I can't move Tony by himself, options are I move or I make Tony move himself. Okay? That's like the most jiu-jitsu way you can do it. Is I put something in play and I make Tony react to it and he moved. I don't have to move the big freight train. I get them to fire up the motors and move it for me. Okay? That's, like I said, that's jiu-jitsu. So I'm gonna go to my good side so it looks better. So I snap him down. Okay? My hand comes through. I go into my baseball grip, cut his elbow across, and then through here. When I drop my head, I look away first, drop my head to the floor, and then as I push the back of my head into Tony, I turn like I'm gonna look at my hands, and I try to make my hands and my forehead touch. Tony's already feeling the squeeze. Now literally lean on my head and turn the corner. So now he's gonna have a choice to make. Choke or move. Movement means lifting up his head. When he lifts up his head, that means the roll is available.
Yeah. How does it change the roll movement when you're already 90 degrees off? Because before we were rolling almost north south.
But remember what's happening though. See, he's moving though. So when he actually lifts up his head, I should find it easier. Because in the other way, I'm fighting to alligator roll and force him to move. When he picks up his head, I find the roll actually becomes easier. Because now he went from here to now trying to pick himself up, which now he has less touching the ground. And so in that instance, when I'm here and I cut him over and I'm going in, I find in that moment that he actually becomes easier when his head comes up. Because now what it's doing is instead of us being flat this way, which should be the superior roll, but he's using his body to kind of brace out. Once he picks up slightly a little bit through here, he opens up my ability to get underneath him. All right, let's give it a shot.